With Road Trip being like your breakout role, what was it like when you took on your first major lead role with The New Guy?
What happened during that time was I got paid very little for Road Trip. I was living in kind of a bubble because after the movie, I still lived in Nashville when I did it. I was being flown into LA for press and flown all over. Back then, it doesn't happen now. Back then, when you had a movie out, you would do a massive publicity tour, like press junkets in New York and LA, and then you would take the movie to Europe and then go around Europe. So that was my life for a while.
Yep.
And I didn't have any money. I was kind of sweating that, but it felt so good. And I get home and had like $2,000 in the bank, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And whenever you do a junket, for example, this question always comes up to actors: so what's next? And a lot of times there's nothing next. And you're waiting until somebody thinks of you to give you a part. And I was in like all these magazines and on television and all this publicity I had done, but it took a while for Hollywood to be, oh yeah, come this way and do this other project. So the next thing I did, I think, was this movie about a bomb on an airplane that Barry Sonnenfeld, the guy who directed the Men in Black movies. And,
oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, but it was about a bomb on an airplane that was supposed to be released September 20th, 2001. And September 11th happened. So the movie was quietly released, but it was like, Tim Allen, Rene Russo, Stanley Tucci, Zooey Deschanel's like third movie, Ben Foster, like all these actors, Jason Lee, so Sofia Vergara's first English language movie. It was this giant production, and it went nowhere. But the point of that story is Barry Sonnenfeld really wanted me to do the part, and they were only going to pay scale for it. And my manager was like, he's probably going to have to go home, because I had nothing. And that's what happens a lot here most of the time. It takes a while for your income to match your lifestyle. And I lived in a shitty one-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica. It was like $800 a month, and I couldn't afford it. And that's the other thing, is that the publicity takes away from your ability to be able to do another job right away. And my manager was like, he needs this amount of money probably just to keep going, and Barry paid it to me. So I owe him basically my career. So while I was doing that, The New Guy came in as an offer, and the script was rough, and so I asked for script approval, and then I wanted to cast the best friend, the girl, and Zooey Deschanel. I was working with her, and I was like, I want her to come and do it with me. So it was like I had a friend who came with me, so it was like, it didn't feel weird or scary.
Yeah.
Also, I think just naively, there's a lot to be said for being too stupid to know that you could fail. It seemed easy when I first started. People were just handing me roles, like really. I think I did in my first 3 years like 12 movies. So it seemed really easy, and I didn't know it wasn't easy until like 2009, which was like 9 years later. And I was like, this is really hard to keep going and sustain yourself, and you have to make really wise choices, and people judge you. And the other thing that I had to deal with was the media. Because I don't look like the typical Hollywood actor, the media came for me. They would praise my performances. Like, I've honestly never had a bad performance review in my career, but they would pat me on the back and then stab me by taking a jab at my appearance. I think the New York Times wrote an article once, like, human bookmark DJ Qualls shines. The Memphis Commercial Appeal called me an Auschwitz survivor. Like, all this kind of terrible negative shit when I first started, and it broke my heart. And I would read all that stuff and I would cry. Because my dreams are coming true, but I never expected this. I never thought that people would come for me when I'm doing my job and I'm doing the best that I can, and doing better than that. I think I'm doing well, and I'm surviving in an industry that is stacked against me. And that stopped probably maybe 5 years ago. You become part of the zeitgeist after a while, and people are just like, you're one of us. He's our, goofy-looking cousin John, and he comes to the family reunion, and nobody thinks about it. And that's been really great, just sort of, that said, Hollywood has never made me feel like I don't belong. It's always the sort of the outside of it, like the people that write about it, want to take shots, and everybody thinks they're Howard Stern. It was like the beginning of that, when Howard Stern was like a shock jock and saying terrible stuff about people to their faces. And so the media for a while was doing that. And it was the birth of TMZ, and that was an interesting period because you would get jobs from going out. So, like I was hanging out with Lindsay Lohan and all these. If you had famous friends, it made you look famous, because Hollywood's a giant high school. So you would get jobs from doing that kind of stuff until people stopped showing up for work. I think I was in New York doing something, and then I get a call that the bar that LA nightlife was really organized. Monday nights was Joseph's, Tuesday nights was this bar, you know. And I think our Thursday night place was a bar at the Roosevelt, and it got raided by the cops because suddenly somebody was like, "How are the Olsen twins and Lindsay Lohan? They're all 19 years old, staggering out of this bar drunk." And it changed. Everything changed in an instant. And all of a sudden, it looked bad to be seen going out. And TMZ was the beginning of I think actors really becoming aware of the power of their personal lives and publicity. And I saw that, and I made the choice right then. I was like, I'm only going to trade on my work. I'm not going to trade them. I never talk about my friends. I never talk about who I'm dating. I never talk about any of that stuff because it's not for sale. But all that's a learning curve. There's no mentoring in this business. There's no way. How do you know? What's interesting about being an actor now for 17 years is that when I started, it was like it was your class of people, like Jessica Alba and Paul Walker and Brittany Murphy and all these people who were in my class, and to see who's died or whose careers have stalled or who's become super famous or who's gone crazy. That's really interesting to look around me and see what has happened to all of us. And honestly, it's made me withdraw from being close with actors. I need some sort of sanity. My two best friends, one's a doctor, and one is a commercial weed farmer. Two good friends to have.